Okay, welcome back, everyone. I am resharing the link on all of our platforms. If you're on Discord or Telegram, you already see it. And if you are on Twitter/X, you should see it now. Actually, Max, just FYI, the x.com link is probably different too. So I know you share that. Maybe you can update it. Oh, okay. In that case, we should be all set. I've just updated. No problem.
A little bit, yeah.
Just restarting my microphone.
Say something more.
Test, test, test.
Yeah, sounds good.
This is the final week of the microphone saga.
Yes.
So next week
We're both on the professional, yeah.
Exactly. All right, so welcome back, everyone. I believe we're live. So thank you for your patience, those who are still with us and watching live on X or on our straight YouTube stream. Lots to talk about. We have been seeing a slide for what seems like, well, I mean, technically we've been on a slide since the all-time high in March, but especially in the last 3 weeks or so, we kind of hit this turning point where the excitement kind of ran out of steam. The meme coin euphoria got a little too high, and suddenly we're back here at 55K Bitcoin or about 2,300 Ethereum. And the question we're going to try to answer, as you saw from the title, is have the traders hit their breaking point? Is it at that point where we're seeing a lot of FUD and impatience and anger to an extent from traders who were expecting their Lambos by now, and it's just they're not coming? So if that's the case, and we're starting to see those small retail traders jump off the ship, then the logical assumption is that we are close to a bottom. Typically, historically, when you see a lot of traders jumping off ship and getting out of crypto because they no longer believe in it, that tends to be where we start to see the ship reverse and prices start to rise again. So, Brother Maxim, I know you're here with us.
Yes, I'm here.
We were talking right before our technical difficulties resolved. How are you seeing the overall zoomed out perspective of the markets right now?
Yeah. First, I enjoy that now we're settled. I mean, not much travel. Next week is the last, and then I'm travel again. So it's cool. We can have continuation or like a sequence of talks. And last Friday, we did talk about not so good or outright. We were actually bearish, saying, "No, guys, it's the conditions are not met." And the question is the same: are conditions met now for a bottom? This morning, when I was checking data, it was not. It's still not. Small hodlers accumulating Bitcoin. Signs of panic on on-chain metrics not visible, like not visible at all. Is everything so good and rosy in the sense that everyone bullish? No. The things have changed. They are improving in the sense that I'm considering now or spending every day 1 hour or two monitoring the market. which normally I don't do because there is nothing to monitor. We're too far away. Now we're getting close. Now we're really getting close. There is a quite established level of hate towards, hate, not angriness, towards some public figures like Vitalik, Ethereum Foundation. Yeah? And I expect more. As we talk with you, I would expect that now it will come eventually against Ton and Pavel Durov. At the moment, he's still being celebrated more or less like someone cool. At the bottom, it will be different. Yeah. So at the bottom, it will be different. This is from social point. And we will see like continuous probably waves of angriness. We do have a few examples, not only rug pulls, but people scolding, for instance, the Casink, that they raised millions or hundreds of millions and they still dissolved or lay off 16% of their workforce. If even when I read the message, it was perfectly explained, and myself as a CEO, I understand the decision, and it's they seem to be doing the right thing. Repositioning strategically what they want to support, like project growth or community growth, and of course you need different kind of people, and you want to keep your team actually as small as possible. It's easier, more agile, easier to navigate. So, but people made the decision quite angrily. So then I say, okay. In generally, when someone lays off, it's already kind of signs of the bottom. Angry reaction, check. Lay off, check. Vitalik, Ethereum, check. But it's not enough in terms of there are a lot of still positive listing of hamster combat or all this talks about new coins coming and being listed here and there, meme coins, and on chain, no one gave up. Say, okay, so we need to wait for it. We need to wait for more give up, both on chain and more angriness social. Then the perfect condition is met. Okay, if we're looking for close to perfect, it will never be like 100% perfect, but we're getting close to it now. Yeah, because it was a long speech, but
no, I love it. I think that the natural trading patterns are all about getting as close to the bottom as possible, with the understanding we're never going to be perfect. I think even the best traders out there admit, they'll buy prematurely or a little bit after the bottom, because there's simply too many factors that prevent perfection in such a speculative market.
And there is no need. I'm always repeating, there is no need to be perfect on top. It's important you have a skill. And I think I was perfectly on top one time out of 10. Only one time by coincidence. Mostly I'm a bit early, sometimes a bit late. But you are taking decision, okay, this is the top. I make a difficult and painful because everyone think I'm stupid. Still, I'm exiting, mostly partially, of our treasury or portfolio. The same at the bottom. Yeah, you will never be perfect at the bottom. Doesn't need to be, and you will feel stupid because market can go down more, or you will feel stupid if you buy after the bottom and it goes up. So you need to accept this feeling of me being silly or stupid as it's part of the game. It has to be there. If you don't feel it, it's kind of suspicious. One time out of 10, you don't have it, or I didn't have it, when it feels like perfectly right. It has also to be at the time when you make a decision, before me European time. And it has to be time when you have environment, okay, now I'm quiet and I make a decision. Most of the time you don't have it because I'm not doing it full time. So you're either a bit too early or a bit too late and you feel stupid. So it's normal, part of the game. Don't get distracted by it or stopped by its feeling. And if you feel stupid, but still the data and your previous experience say, yeah, maybe that's the right time, maybe it is.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, what we'll be exploring today is whether we are hitting that point of what is a likely, never a sure thing, but a likely bounce coming in the near future. Obviously, prices are down, sea of red. Most coins outside of a few like Helium, SWI, Monero and Uniswap are down significantly. Litecoin also should be mentioned. They're down significantly in the past week. Pretty much all of these are down over the past 3-ish months. But you can notice also social volume is down significantly for most assets. Bitcoin being talked about 10% less, Ethereum being talked about 17% less, Solana is being talked about.
Interesting.
So I find that to be interesting too. Yes, there's a lot of scattered altcoins down here that are seeing slight rises, but for the most part, the amount of discussion just continues to dissolve. I'm noticing our posts and competitors' posts out there, they're all getting less engagement right now. I think this is a form of FUD as well, just less people even wanting to talk about crypto because they're so frustrated or bored or complacent over where we're at right now. That's kind of the effect of a slow drop. This isn't the same as like us dropping from 70K to 55K in a matter of a few days. This has been 6 months of teasing with some bounces here and there, followed by another drop, a little bit of encouragement and another drop. And it's kind of a slow burn for a lot of traders that has resulted in less conversations, more interest to other sectors, a little bit of an increase in discussion toward the S&P right now, which we can get into. It's been sliding quite a bit this week for the first time in a long time, really, as people talk about potential rate cuts coming up in the next month. So I think this is an interesting time where there's just a lot of people not necessarily selling off all their bags, but holding and just praying that some good news happens if they just shut their eyes and look at other distractions in the world for the indefinite future. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. And I've pulled up a few different charts here. One thing, whoops, as it changes tabs, there we go. So one thing that I've really enjoyed analyzing in recent months has been this bottom and top indicator for calls for 70 to 75K BTC versus 40 to 45K BTC. And as you would expect, the blue candles here are generally representative of potential tops, while red are potential bottoms. And quite clearly, you can see points in which the bottoms were called, or the crowd is calling for very low numbers right when we're about to bounce, and calling for very high numbers right when we're popping out.
That's a cool chart. So simple. So simple. Even you cannot believe that so simple thing, but it works.
Yeah. I mean, literally every one of these big blue candles here, Maxim, right at the top, right at the top. Like, it's so consistent. And yes, part of it is people talk about 70 to 75K more when we're either at that number or close to that number, but not always, right? Like here, for example, Bitcoin was at 60K. It got to, 59.6K. That's nowhere near 40 to 45. Yet it was
far away,
for people to start speculating, okay, I think we're going all the way to 40 to 45K, then I'm going to buy, right? And then sure enough, we get a little bit of a bounce. That never happens. This one, we're actually...
I just wanted to say that there are plenty of ways to use this tool, and I really encourage people listening later on or right now, go there and enter whatever numbers you see or you believe is can be indicative, like 100K, 150, 200K, or there will be times when people, for whatever reason, they're focused on some specific number, and you know that it's, or you can prove it's, if it's being shared by a big group of people, in the bear market will be, I don't know, 30K, like 30K, people might start talking about it a lot. And if you see spikes, okay, it would mean something, because this shared crowd sentiment, it happens at specific point of time.
Yeah, I checked out the 100, 150, and 200K pattern, and I included BTC with them because I remember checking just the numbers by themselves before, and it doesn't work as well because these are more universal numbers. Yeah. So I included BTC, and yeah, sure enough, this gold line here, right before that all-time high, literally 3 days before. And it's a little more scattered ever since. But I think that especially when we're about to see an all-time high, that's when you see these numbers come up. I'm just curious if we go all the way back to that 2021 all-time high, if we see anything similar.
At that time should be 100K. I still remember very clearly everyone was somehow focused on 100K for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Many people around here.
Well, look, I mean, this was mid-October, the first week of November, or actually it was like November 9th is when we hit that all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
So 2.5 weeks before is when we see the most mentions of these very, very high numbers.
Magic 100K, yeah.
Exactly. And then a little bit on the way down. I wonder if this was even like sarcastic mentions where everyone's like, where's that 100K?
Who knows? Maybe, yeah. Yeah, where is our 100K, yeah.
Exactly. So you're right. I think there are tons of ways to explore this. I really lately have found that, you know, these two numbers for now are very applicable, but whatever price Bitcoin is at over the course of the next decade, you can look at, you know, 15 to 20% higher than the current price and 15 to 20% lower. Just enter the round numbers.
It's just some round numbers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And you'll find some really interesting patterns.
Yeah, and you can track it. Now we improved our interface. I mentioned, I think, in our last stream. If you press a track and then you can add to your narrative, it will become part of what you see, this narrative topics on your screen.
Right.
You can track it, and it's very easy to come back to it, so you don't need to save it anymore. Like click on the show narratives. Yeah, and then you enter.
And I name it, right?
Yeah, you name it. Yeah.
It's called 70 to 75K.
Save. Yeah, you see, it appears under your My Narrative. Yeah.
Let's check. Okay, so I did it for 40 to 45K too.
On top of the screen, there is this narrative topics.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
so now you have permanent little shortcuts.
Exactly. We will do it even more professional. So you have your own narrative traction, and but even now it's already very convenient. I use it, yeah. And you can play around, specify your.
Checking some other ones, Trump or Harris. I like it better if they're separated myself. So if we did Harris versus Trump, no matter what country you're in the world, this should be relevant to you because of how much U.S. politics seem to be impacting, prices week in and week out. And if we look at the last 3 months, you can see Harris in blue right at the top. You can tell that crypto is a little more bearish toward positive Harris news and a little more bullish toward positive Trump news. This was an exception. And this was his assassination attempt right around here. And then you see a big rise here and price went up because this was like Trump's heroic moment where he had his fist up in the air and everyone was saying, oh, he's going to be the next president. Then Harris gets announced as the new candidate to replace Biden. And actually, some people would argue that that was the top signal, right? Because people actually think, oh, crap, she's a threat to Trump being president. And she's not as pro-crypto as Trump. At least that's the assumption from people. Doesn't matter what we think or what you personally think. Remember, it's about what the crowd thinks about each candidate and how they react to it. And they are definitely in the pro-Trump category in terms of crypto being bullish, right? So with that in mind, I think this is a very useful chart and will only become more useful over the next 2 months as we inch toward the election date.
Sure.
Why don't we jump over to some metrics here and look
Let's
at...
Let's go. Actually, I did on Bitcoin. Go ahead with what you was checking today.
Yeah, I'll show one, and then maybe you tell me what has been on your eye right now. In terms of 10 plus BTC, always one of my favorite charts to check in on. It's looking pretty good still. Maybe a very slight decline in the past 3 days, but you can see just over the past week, the 10 plus BTC addresses are collectively up about 805 BTC, relatively very little for them, but at least it's more up than down right now. If you go back to, let's just go to early June, the past 3 months. Yeah, we're seeing them up a little, about 33K Bitcoin during that time, even though price is down 21.5%. So I consider that to be a very good divergence, indicating we are still in a healthy position due to, if I can get the price lines. So yeah, when it looks like this and price is going that way and crypto accumulation from whales is going that way, yeah, we consider that a pretty good sign in most cases. It doesn't mean that we're going to turn around tomorrow, but long term, the people with 10,000 times more crypto than you are still looking very confident in the future of crypto right now. So that's an important factor. In terms of stable coins, yeah, they've been swapping a lot of dollars for crypto as of late. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means most of this accumulation is coming from existing stable coins they had rather than new money that they're wiring in from their, Swiss bank accounts and whatnot. And that would be the ultimate bullish sign when they're bringing in new fiat into play, which I'm sure they are a little bit, but ultimately we'd like to see these red and blue lines representing Tether and USD coin starting to move up rather than stay flat or move down. All right, Maxim, what can I open for you? I know you've been looking at a few
in the same chart, supply distribution, but I select a different group, so you can maybe take. I usually take smallest one, 2 zeros 1 0.001 to 0.01. Yes, this one separately and next one separately. Yeah, don't
so
mix
these together.
Exactly. Or you can mix it. It's okay. So I don't want to see it rising. I mean, don't want it so strong. But this is not a sign of capitulation, which I would expect to see around the bottom. Yeah, we might see it going down to the bottom. We might see it decreasing if price start recovering, but you don't see it increasing into the falling price and increasing to growing price. It's just keep increasing. You see, when we look into from April, they got at some point of time a bit concerned. 21st of April, 22nd, when the price crashed. Crashed, okay, maybe it sounds too strong. No, later. So they've been buying and then say, oh, okay. Now I don't know what's going on. So they decreased and they kept decreasing it into even growing prices. So that was good. So that was environment kind of okay. But then they keep decreasing all the time. So it was a kind of okay signal when we were observing it. But their behavior changed of small hodlers buying into the bottoms. And it's like we really took the small one, up to $600. No, later. Yeah, exactly. So they buy in the bottom. They usually don't buy the bottoms. This is not what you expect to see. So this is the one, and of course, age consumed or network realized stock profit loss or both. I look at them just to see the level of panic liquidations. Liquidations in terms of okay, I need to realize my profits. We still need to remember many people are holding Bitcoin from previous circles or even earlier stages of accumulation when it was 20 till 30,000. They will move the coins if they feel the fear or some level of panic and you want to see it, and it's not happening. Mean dollar stage increasing, age consumed not spiking. If you plot on it network realized profit loss, it's also kind of like really flat. Yeah, so no one is taking profits. All these coins which been accumulated before, very little. Yeah. So combination of these two metrics. Increased holding of small hodlers and lack of activity those who are in the profit. This is what I saw this morning. And I say, okay, when I'm going to stream, I say, I'm still waiting, something to change here. Keep in mind, some of these metrics are end of the day. I think balances, maybe supply distribution. I don't remember exactly which one of them. So I usually check them in the morning when market played and US sessions close over European from before. And then you look, okay, let me check if something happened. So I will check it tomorrow. I will check that tomorrow to see if the situation has changed. So far, it doesn't look like we're on the bottom.
Yeah,
but
on a related note to the small holders, I like to look at just the total amount, which are already comprised of mostly small holders anyways. And it basically confirms what you're saying, Maxim. Since basically mid-late July, a month and a half ago, we've been seeing the amount start to rise again. This was the ultimate bottom signal. And yeah, we did bounce. And I think what happened here is people saw the big bounce from August 4th and 5th, where there was like a quick 10 to 12% jump. And then they started accumulating again, assuming we're probably never going to get back down here. But look, now we're teasing it again. And I think we're at that point where that network growth from small retail traders stops until we start to see something encouraging again.
Yeah, we should see it,
So I think it's a fascinating time, and we're not big on price predictions or like timing. We just know that we are getting close to the point in which traders have had enough, and that's generally a good thing. It may happen when we see 50K or 49K again. That would be the big support level that a lot of TA traders have in mind right now. But the question of whether we'll even hit that number before we start to bounce is one that we can't answer, and you just have to check in on those social trends and network realized profit loss, as Maxim was talking about, to see for yourself. But in terms of overall on-chain metrics, I don't think it looks too bad right now, especially the fact that whales are accumulating. Not much in the way of funding rates. It's kind of just very flat at the moment. You can see what it was like in March, just tons and tons of longs because people had only seen rising for the past 6 months at this point. And it finally, the longs get flushed out here. We start to see some shorting, then a bounce, and kind of people aren't sure what to do right here. Then you can see people start to short, right around August 4th and 5th. And that's when we see the bounce. And now we're kind of in this unpredictable phase. Still some occasional shorts that you really weren't seeing at all back in March and April. So that's a good sign. But I'll be watching this very closely as well. So that's kind of what people are doing in terms of putting their money where their mouth is. In terms of actual sentiment and social volume, where did I have it? Here we go. So you can see how low the discussion rates are. Like we said at the beginning of the call, just a lot of silence, less engagement with tweets, less conversations on Reddit. People just don't want to be bothered about the crypto discussion because they've been teased so much over the past 6 months. Of course, I'm generalizing. Plenty of people are still very involved, but from an average trader perspective, there's just less interest in crypto right now. And I think that's very important to note. And as you would imagine, the weighted sentiment has finally started to slip into a more negative than average range after we were in this consistent positive sentiment stretch here from late July to late August. And before that, super negative, right? Because this was after the disappointment from the all-time high and we see this big drop. So even when we jumped, traders weren't buying it, and they actually kind of got this right because prices slipped. And then finally, this big run up turns them very bullish. This was the most bullish we had seen traders in over a year. So people were convinced this rebound was the rebound to get us to, those all-time high prices again. And as usual, crypto has other plans in mind and tricks the larger trader community into buying here. And now we're back in but mildly negative territory once again, which I would expect to get even more negative if we start to approach that same bottom area that we saw 1 month ago.
Yeah, and especially I think it should be visible on some of the altcoins. We can quickly check just as experiment only social dominance, volume, and weighted sentiment for coins like Tron, Not, Solana, Ethereum, just to quickly check them.
Yeah, let's do one at a time here. So you said volume and
no,
you said
social. Yeah, social volume, dominance, and weighted sentiment.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, dominance. Just to see the spikes, and then weighted sentiment. Yeah. Yeah, and you can hide volume. Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
Perfect.
So weighted sentiment. Oh yeah, exactly. It was when Durov was very negative, but it's a kind of recovered after this, yeah, or tried to recover. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's just being not talked about as much anymore, so that's kind of neutralized the sentiment.
Mm-hmm. And then I didn't check long time. Notcoin, one of the first big thing on Ton. Yeah. Okay. So no one is talking about. Okay, interesting.
Very little, yeah.
Yeah, very little. Mm-hmm. And then Solana.
Since this top, since June 1st, Not is one of the worst performers. It's down 73% from the high from just 3 months ago.
That's fast, yeah. That just show how short life cycle of a coin became. Solana and then Ripple. We'll see Solana and Ripple.
Yep. So here's Solana. Also very negative right now.
Mm-hmm.
And look at social dominance. I mean, this is the least amount of discussion towards Solana that we've seen all year long.
Mm-hmm. So on this relatively low dominance, weighted sentiment is quite strongly negative. Because keep in mind, when we're talking about weighted sentiment, and take into account the social volume. And if you see strong value of weighted sentiment, be it high or low, like positive or negative, and the dominance is low, it means the sentiment is really strong. So if we can hit the same low or even lower of sentiment on the current volume, yeah, I would say that Solana has been perceived very negatively, which, looking by the price itself, it's really teasing the long-term support of 120. Once it's broken, okay, I can see it will be painful. And then Ripple, what's going on Ripple? Because this is the ones who always react positively to whatever happens. So they're positive, yeah. Okay, dominance.
Yeah, a little more optimism here, kind of the inverse to Solana.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to be, they are like positive regularly. Ripple army can turn positive easily. I think it can be used as a kind of pump expectation as well, just because the way how Ripple community usually reacts to any kind of news. Yeah, but values which we saw back in January is not January, June 24. The slow values seems to be where we need to go. Yeah, has to go at least so far, and we are now a bit too much positive sentiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still like positive on Ripple, is it?
Yeah. I think it's definitely still very positive. Not very, but
not very
positive.
Okay.
And I think people are still coming off the high of these two big bounces here on July 17th and here around August 7th or 8th after the big crypto recovery. XRP was one of the best performers here. So it's actually one of the few that are kind of up since, mid-May. Most are down. So I think that people are just positive about the price, and that could change very quickly if XRP starts to really slump. Let's take a look at some of the social trends going on right now. I know we've had a few big topics that have been trending throughout the week. Lately, it's been Ampleforth is in the news. Trading dynamics.
Didn't hear this name for a very long time. Why? What happened? Still alive.
Relationships with exchanges like 8. The narrative highlights potential for Ample's value to increase as it's mentioned alongside other cryptos. And that doesn't tell us much. I'm curious if we see more on the trending coins. No, it's not even on trending coins, interestingly. It's a keyword, but not on trending coins at the moment. Well, we can see that it's being mentioned a lot with Gate. That seems to be what
someone
going on
tried to pump I think this coin on Gate, whatever partnership or listing. I don't think it was listing. They probably listed the wrong. When you see on top of top trending coins some old, like Ampleforth, really old ones. Okay, not really old ones, just simply old ones. And for unknown reasons, very suspicious. Oh wait, it's a trending word, not coins, because I see
exactly
words. Oh my gosh, coin coming there. What is okay? I can check. I will check later on Ampleforth some other metrics. Just looks very suspicious.
I also noticed down here unemployment is a topic,
yes,
and I think that's very important.
Now it gets traction, yeah. Because we had this data 2 hours ago, or almost 2 hours ago.
Yeah. So I think that the Fed is going to play a big part. I'm seeing a lot of reports that the rate cuts are very likely now. I can't say for sure. You know, there's always a chance that the Fed says, you know, this market slip is healthy. We need to see even more downtrend. You know, inflation is too high. So I'm watching. I think that might be the most important topic over the next 3 to 4 weeks here, as we get to the next FOMC decision, looking at words like inflation or unemployment. Historically, if we go to the past year, many of you remember how much these keywords affected 2022, when we were just seeing tons of huge drops and portfolios getting liquidated right and left. But you can see here, inflation or unemployment right at the top here in April. It's kind of scattered. It's not a perfect top signal by any means. But if we add something like, we'll just look at FOMC or CPI. These are very associated with tops. This one here, this one here, this one here even. There's a lot of talk about Fed cuts and potentially how they will affect the overall markets and the ability for companies to thrive. We can look at that next, the correlation between crypto and the S&P, but I do want to mention that's probably going to be the next piece of big news that changes the landscape for crypto because of its reliance on the S&P 500 for much of the past couple of years, really. So keep in mind that the rate cuts are very important to the grand scheme of things here in the US. If they cut rates, generally that's accepted as a good sign for crypto. If they don't, that would come as a surprise to many people who are expecting it right now. So if I go over to our handy S&P correlation, here's what we're seeing right now. Definitely the two are very tied at the moment, right? The S&P here, Bitcoin down here. The two are sliding in tandem, while gold, by the way, is still climbing pretty healthy. But regardless, this is kind of a picture of what recessions look like, but they go for way longer than this. Gold starts to climb and the S&P starts to drop. That's a sign that the precious metals are being hoarded once again. So for all we know, you know, that narrative of Bitcoin being the digital version of gold will start to trickle back in as people look for reasons to pump it again. But yeah, we will need to see the S&P 500 kind of straighten out a little bit, at least based on recent trends. It's been rare for crypto to be able to pump without the S&P 500 and world equities markets staying healthy themselves. So that's why subjects like the FOMC and the Fed's cutting rates and inflation are such important topics for crypto these days. So I wanted to mention that. Why don't we take a, oh yeah, I also wanted to look at the trending tokens and the crypto narratives. So number one on this list is POX. It's due to being mentioned, strong community sentiment and potential investment interest. You're not sick enough appears frequently, possibly indicating a call to action for potential investors to engage more actively. I get the joke, pox as in chicken pox or any sort of disease out there. So they're saying you're not sick enough. It's a code word for saying that people should FOMO into pox. So it's the number one trending word at the moment. In terms of its price, it had a bit of a mini pump 2 to 3 days ago, and it's sort of rebounding a little bit now. You can see social volume actually got very high around that bottom. So if you're interested in a very speculative asset, check out POX and look into its social volume. Bitcoin here at number 2. Obviously, the big top caps are being talked about a lot right now.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, with the recent drop, it makes sense. ETFs are being mentioned a lot. Let me see if I can pull up the ETF dashboard. I actually was just looking at it here. Let's give it a refresh, make sure that it's up to date. And I just want to see the total amount of volume going on right now. That would be... Did I miss it? TOTAL. There we go. Yeah, so look at how much it's declined since the all-time high levels over here in February and March. This was the lowest day of volume just yesterday in history, believe it or not. I'll probably put out a post about that later, but clearly the amount of volume toward the top 7 ETFs in for Bitcoin, they've just been drying up rapidly because just like the small traders and people on chain, those that are getting exposure through ETFs, they don't know what to do right now. There's a lot of indifference, complacency, fear of making the wrong move right now. And I think that's factoring into the volume drying up. Now, volume going down isn't necessarily a bearish signal. It just means there's a kind of a paralysis that people are feeling right now and being unsure of what the right move is at the moment. So because of the lack of volatility and the very slow drop in Bitcoin's price, this is kind of the result that we often see. I wanted to see if there's an inflow one I can show as well. So BitB, one of the top 7 ETFs, if we give that a refresh, yeah, lots of outflow going on right now. Look at this big outflow from HODL. This is a delayed one though. This graph only goes up to August 6th. So that was right when Bitcoin was crashing last month. Let's see if we can find a few other flow charts we can show. The big outflow, that was back on the August 4th crash. A lot of these are not refreshing to the current date. I'll have to talk to the team about how we can get these up to date. But I highly recommend checking out this dashboard. I think it's a really cool one to check in on how the ETFs are looking day in and day out. I won't wait for that to refresh. It's okay. Okay, a few other topics. Crypto narratives. So as a reminder to everyone, we have this handy chart here that shows the fluctuations of some of the more niche topics. Obviously 40 to 45K and 70 to 75K.
You see, this is the result of you saving into narrative. Now you can see how it's been trending, how it trends along other predefined narrative. It's quite cool feature. You can define the narrative and you want to track them.
Yeah. And so the trick right now is you want to kind of look at which topics are widening their area at the moment. And I see a little bit of a widening from GameFi. Ethereum's definitely being talked about a lot. NFTs, stablecoins. That's often a very good sign of bearishness when people start questioning the legitimacy of stablecoins. Tether isn't talked about a lot unless people are scared of its legitimacy. So I find that fascinating. Meme coins, actually a pretty decent amount of discussion toward meme coins, probably due to the fact that they're hemorrhaging so much right now.
Well, the only one is left. But I think weekly narrative here should be here, right?
Yep. So this is our weekly narratives. These are more of the...
I think they did not update it to this current week yet.
Got it.
No problem. Anyone, you can comment maybe on weekend, maybe on Monday. It will update to the topics of latest week.
Another topic I wanted to look at was development activity, which is, of course, a very popular topic among our community. And just to give an update, there's been some pretty decent shuffling going on among our top 10. Look at ICP up to almost 700 GitHub events, notable events that we track over the past 30 days. So it's easily surpassed all the other assets as the top developing asset over the past month. Chainlink up at number 2. I know we have a huge community of Chainlink fans, whether prices are going up or down, and they're in the number 2 spot now. Cardano has rebounded to number 3. Hedera, Optimism, ZK Sync, Cosmos, Avalanche, and for those who remember a year ago, 2 years ago, Kusama and Polkadot, they were always number 1 and 2, and now they're down here at 9 and 10. So not to say that their team is carrying any less, they're still getting 300 GitHub events per month, but they've been surpassed by a lot of other projects here. So I find that interesting, especially ICP being way, way up here at the top. All right, maybe last but not least here, let's take a look at the activity matrix, which has been showing interesting signs. Take a look at MATIC here in dark red. That indicates that the network is extremely active right now. Active addresses seeing close to 3-month all-time highs. Same with network growth, whale transactions, key stakeholder accumulation, social dominance, exchange inflow, mean dollar age consumed. All of these are very hot. Maybe we can look really quick at the Sandbase graphs for MATIC, because I think it's fascinating with the stuff going on with POL. Whoops, not MATIC, just look at main. So take a look at this huge on-chain spike here on September 3rd. And look at this, Maxim, the daily active addresses for MATIC are just going nuts.
Yeah. And actually, did you check social dominance? It's been discussed in quite a negative light, it kind of flipping, sometimes negative, sometimes positive, but there've been a lot of discussions for MATIC.
Yeah, so big spike here on the 3rd, as well as on August 21st.
Yes.
So you probably know better than me. What's the negativity? Like a quick summary of it.
Price. People
is that all it is?
From what I can recall, yes, they're very unhappy with price. Yeah.
I thought there was some drama going on too, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Well, maybe there is also drama, but or they will make a drama out of it. But the recent drama that Vitalik said he's selling, or he was misunderstood. He just says that whatever coins he has for L2, he will sell to support some general development topics, but people took, okay, he's dumping and he's not interested in any kind of L2, which is of course not true. And MATIC is one of them. So I don't think if it's relevant or not. But I've been seeing a lot of discussions, or visibly amount of discussions about MATIC on channels, which I sometimes check in. So you could, look at this.
Yeah. So the total amount of holders has gone from
well, also
670K.
I think they're also converting their coin, right?
Say it again, sorry.
They're converting their coin to the new one.
Yeah, from changing from MATIC to POL. Let's see if we can overlay them on the same chart here. Polygon ecosystem token, and we'll go total amount. Same chart. Look at that.
Yeah. So the conversion is going on here.
Let me add price for POL as well. I want to see how they're interchanging here. Yeah, I mean, POL isn't doing anything price-wise either. If I make this, let's see, I'll make it red. And then I'll make this pink so we understand the correlation. Okay, so POL, they've both been basically identical. I guess they just trade in tandem to one another.
Yeah, it's just I think one-to-one swap, but the contract or the coin is now native for MATIC network. Probably it has to now track both of them.
Makes sense, yeah. So clearly MATIC is being swapped for POL, and it hasn't made any difference on price, which has been hemorrhaging very quickly. They're both down about 36, 37% over the past 2-ish weeks or so. So I find it really interesting that I think there's some legitimate FUD going on, especially with these social dominant spikes. So it could be a sneaky pickup, assuming that Bitcoin starts to stabilize here. Let's look at a few others on the leaderboard here. So this is an alternate way to kind of get an idea of which networks are the hottest. You can see MATIC is seeing the most increase compared to its 3-month average. Apecoin is up there. Storage, Ampleforth. Aave has been a very interesting one. It's been one of the better performers in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
It's very hot. Litecoin you can see here. And 1inch is another one. Which had a pretty decent pump a few days ago. And then in terms of like specific categories, you can see Cardano just had its biggest day of address activity. Let's take a look at Cardano really quick.
Yeah, the newest update. And some talks around it.
So it's more of an isolated spike just on this day. And these can often be predecessors to a reversal. I'd be interested to see what happens today if there's a similar level of address activity. In terms of MVRV, you can see how low it is. 30%, negative 30% for traders that have been active in the past year.
Yeah.
I also have this chart, which is very helpful. It looks at the Z-score MVRV comparison. So we can see Toncoin here still well into the positive. This is combining a lot of different time frames all together. And meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, Uniswap, very, very low. So if you are interested in buying into others' pain, Uniswap is a potential pickup right now. Shiba Inu, way down here as well. MATIC is there in pink. And that cream color is Chainlink. So any of those four, average traders are very underwater across short, mid, and long-term timeframes right now. Just looking to see if there's one final point I can close on. Check this out. So this is the midterm opportunity zones for a lot of coins. Most of them are in underbought range right now. There's a few exceptions, reserve rights and VitDAO, but Litecoin here as well seems to be semi-overbought. And Aave, which has had a very good 3-month stretch compared to the rest of the markets, they're semi-overbought as well. But this gives you a good perspective on just how much prices have slid since those all-time highs 6 months ago. Lots of opportunities right now. It doesn't mean we're about to see a huge bounce, but historically, this is giving you an idea that there's justification to add on to your positions, trickle in a little more money with the understanding that the average traders are in tremendous pain right now. So I just wanted to bring up that point as well. All right, Maxim. Any final thoughts from you before we say adieu to our audience today?
Yeah, we can finish where we started. A few things to observe. It's not many. Holding of very small Bitcoin hodlers, 201 to 01. I mean, it will be two groups. And network realized profit loss again for Bitcoin and age consumed. If we should see some movements and spikes and people who are in the profit taking it from the table. This whole narrative that doesn't matter when you buy, it will go up anyway, should be a little bit adjusted by the crowd for the time being. And it will be a sure sign, or let's say, quite strong sign for a bottom. This like based on Bitcoin. And then on social data, attention and negative attention shaped in the form of negative, angry conversations towards some founders, some teams. Should be quite present. Yeah. So you should be able to see it whenever you open Reddit or Telegram. It will keep coming like 1 or 2 times per day. Then it's a good environment for bottom. Should be not far away from it, but looking to get it.
Agreed. Yeah, today is actually a very important day. It's the end of the week from a very disappointing stock market week. And if crypto follows suit and potentially starts to show Bitcoin approaching 50K, Ethereum approaching 2K again, I think we're going to see some serious fireworks and some serious pain signals that might finally indicate we're bouncing soon.
Yes.
All right, very good, Brother Maxim. Well, thank you so much for joining today. It was a pleasure speaking with you about the markets and where we're at right now. Thank you all for your patience and tuning in after we had to switch links here. For those who watched live, you guys are amazing and we appreciate your support. If you're watching on replay, thank you as well. And make sure to drop a like, comment what you like and don't like so much about these streams so we can continue to improve them and make sure you're getting quality analysis week in and week out. So on behalf of the Santiment team, thank you so much, guys. Have a safe and pleasant weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.